It was a difficult part of the film to make. It was very physically demanding. I dislocated my ankle.
Some actors like to hang out in the trailer and let their stunt doubles and body doubles do all the heavy lifting. Some actors do not. The lengths that some very dedicated actors have gone to in order to get into a character are truly unbelievable. And we might not believe them if we didn't have the proof right there on the screen. Like what Anne Hathaway insisted on doing for real, or the insane skill that Margot Robbie picked up for Suicide Squad. These transformations have to be seen to be believed.
One thing about robbing banks is you're mostly robbing women, so the last thing you want to be is rude.
Tom Holland's new movie, Cherry, couldn't be further from Spider-Man, but it definitely proves what an amazing and dedicated actor he is. Because Cherry takes place in distinct phases of his character's life, it meant that Tom had to lose 30 pounds 3 months before filming, slowly gain it back, only to have to lose it again because the Russo brothers decided to write in some new scenes at the last minute. That's a lot of dedication for such a young actor.
It was an amazing experience to make a film like this.
Through her roles in Euphoria and Malcolm and Marie, Zendaya has shown us what a brave and emotionally vulnerable actress she is. But in The Greatest Showman, she went through an entirely different kind of painful transformation. In order to perform the incredible trapeze scenes, Zendaya endured a ton of strenuous trapeze and circus training.
And I was like, take me up.
But it wasn't without its accidents, as she and Zac Efron slammed into each other over and over again during practice. When Margot Robbie showed up on screen as infamous figure skating Olympian Tonya Harding, she was almost totally unrecognizable. Robbie worked very hard to disappear into the role as much as she could, training for 5 months, 5 days a week, 4 hours a day to learn how to skate like Harding.
The ice skating was really hard. Ice skating was definitely more painful.
On top of that, she wore a ton of makeup, prosthetics, and some seriously fried 80s-style blonde wigs. Her dedication was so intense that she wound up with a herniated disc in her spine by the end of it. And if you think that was the only time that Margot Robbie risked her life for a role, well, you don't know Margot.
Something tells me a whole lot of people are about to die.
In order to film the terrifying underwater car accident scene from Suicide Squad, the actress went into training with a freediver in order to learn how to hold her breath for 5 minutes at a time.
You kind of like meditate underwater.
As it turns out, anytime water is involved, things get a little bit more difficult. Or in the case of what Shaileen Woodley went through while filming the deep ocean drama Adrift, a lot more difficult. Not only did she spend almost the entire shoot soaking wet from head to toe, she also battled some serious seasickness. But she wasn't alone. Everyone except the director and one cameraman got horribly sick from the waves.
Those were not fun days.
And seeing as how they filmed 2 hours from shore, starting at 4 a.m. and going for 12 hours, we don't blame them. When James McAvoy learned that he was going to be replacing the iconic Sir Patrick Stewart as Professor Charles Xavier in the new X-Men movie franchise, he was thrilled. So thrilled, in fact, that he went right ahead and shaved his head before showing up on set.
We're about to shave James's hair. This is the moment.
When he got there, however, he found out that his younger version of Professor X was actually supposed to still have his hair. So, unfortunately for James, they had to use wigs and hair extensions actually glued onto his head for almost the entire shoot.
It's brilliant. It is brilliant.
Robert Pattinson is one of the most recognizable actors in the entire world, and he knew that would be a problem when it came time to shoot the Safdie brothers movie Good Time. The movie was filmed on the real streets of New York City, so in order to hide in plain sight, he shaved his head and moved into a basement apartment in Harlem. Getting spotted wasn't actually a big problem for Pattinson in the end, as in order to find his character, he stayed inside with the curtains closed for 2 months.
Lived in this basement apartment in Harlem and just literally did nothing at all.
He also never changed his sheets and slept in his clothes. Denzel Washington is undoubtedly one of the greatest actors of his generation, which is why it must have been terrifying for the actor who actually had to waterboard him.
I said go for it. Don't be afraid. I'm not afraid, and let's see what happens.
For real. That's right. During the film Safe House, in a scene where Denzel's character is being tortured for information, the actor insisted that he actually be waterboarded. He felt that it lent authenticity to the scene and the character. So, despite the director's protests, what you see in the movie is actually someone waterboarding Denzel Washington.
The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club.
Brad Pitt has turned in some of the best performances ever over the course of his long career, but one of his most famous is definitely Fight Club. Playing the impossibly cool and incredibly destructive Tyler Durden required a lot of Brad, including getting into incredible shape. But Pitt didn't want to appear too perfect, so to play a guy who competes in underground bare-knuckle fights every night, he actually went to a dentist and had them chip pieces off of his front teeth.
What's it called?
The Imitation Game.
One of the best performances of Benedict Cumberbatch's career is definitely his appearance as Alan Turing in The Imitation Game. There's a ton of pressure on actors when they have to play a real-life person without falling into an over-the-top impression. To fully portray Turing, Cumberbatch actually had a copy of Turing's 60-year-old dentures made and wore them for the entire shoot, despite how uncomfortable they were.
There was just something about him that immediately really struck a chord for me.
When former model CHARLIZE THERON appeared on screen as real-life psychopath Eileen Wuornos, audiences everywhere gasped at how completely transformed she was. And it wasn't an easy transformation either. In order to take on the famous Eileen, CHARLIZE wore uncomfortable dentures, had fake tattoos painstakingly painted on every day, shaved her eyebrows off completely, and had her hair thinned and completely fried with bleach.
Why did you do it in the first place?
For the money.
Rooney Mara is known for choosing unconventional roles, and one of her most challenging was Lisbeth Salander in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. The dedicated actress spared nothing when getting into this tough and tortured character. She chopped all of her hair off, dyed it jet black, and bleached her eyebrows. But on top of all of that, she actually got all of Lisbeth's piercings, including piercing some pretty intimate and painful areas.
I just wanted to have some just because it would feel more like I was living with it.
The incredibly committed Leonardo DiCaprio gave his absolute all to The Revenant, and it shows.
It's going to be a very unique film, I think, for years to come.
Everything you see in the film, DiCaprio did for real, including sleeping inside of an animal carcass, eating raw liver and getting sick from it, living in the freezing cold, wading through a frozen river, working in nothing but frozen bear skins for warmth, and so much more. He rightfully claims it was the hardest thing he has ever done. And we have to wonder if he was even acting by the end of it, or just trying to survive. In order to play the famed blind musician Ray Charles, Jamie Foxx had to live as a blind person. The production used prosthetics to keep Jamie's eyes fused shut for the entire duration of the shoot, sometimes upwards of 14 hours a day. It wasn't easy on him either. He suffered panic attacks from not being able to see, and compares the experience to a jail sentence.
I'd lost a lot of weight in a very small amount, in about 2 weeks.
Many people have talked about how much weight Anne Hathaway lost to play Fantine in Les Mis, but no one seems to mention how she insisted upon having her head shaved for real on screen in real time. That's right. Despite the fact that both the director and costume designer tried to talk her out of it, Anne was determined, so everything you see on screen is totally real. For all those who think acting is an easy job, we hope this helped change your mind. We know we've never had to shave our head and hold our breath for 5 minutes at the office like Anne and Margot did. How about you? Thanks for watching. See you next time.